Welcome back to this wonderful world and this amazing story. Well, I'm amazing. You guys are also amazing. Thank you for coming back again out of YouTube, our podcast. Remember, we are Guide Ecuador, right? Again, my name is Alejandro, Alex, however you want to call me, it's fine. I'm very motivated because this chapter talks about my family. So everything in life has been important for me. It's super important. All businesses I have, my tour company and so on, that I have other plans that I will make it possible next year. I'll tell you. Stick it in and stay with us because I'm gonna share my story to you. To maybe you're looking for something as an extra energy to start up, to continue, and just to hear a crazy man like me from Ecuador that's been traveling all over around, and always loving everything. Well, I think we have to start because the chapter is amazing. So stick with us and we start right now. Well, every single human on earth is looking for some love, some company, someone who might hold all the craziness in life together. That was my problem. So why was my problem? It's a matter of fact to say that I was called Casanova. I was called Mujeriego. Not now because I have my family. I have my wife and my kids, and I don't want to screw up plans and looking for something else if I can have it at home. So, but when I was single, when I was in university, when I was trying to explore my own world, I could say I got a chance to have several girls, and I have a chance to meet a lot of people as well in general. Because I love talking to people. Yeah, actually, it's talking about life as a parrot. I am a non-stop person in this case. I hate writing, but I love talking. So coming back to the topic, it's kind of embarrassing because I know that my wife will listen to this, will watch this. I hope that after this conversation, it's not going to create me a problem at home, because she might be cranky with me of maybe getting to know a few things that she probably didn't know. Right? One of those is that I was a Casanova. I got a lot of relationships with many girls in different times, in different areas, and also at the same time. Right? I thought in a certain point that I was not born to be married. In other words, I was not born for being cash, right, or trapped. But eventually, in and out, traveling, working, in that moment I was already working as a guy. This is why I met my wife. Actually, we were friends at the beginning. It's very curious because I end up meeting her and later on dating her because a friend of mine, it's a driver, he heard in one of the companies that they were looking for guides, for new guides, for tour guides. And he looked at me and said that was a good prospect, and he referred me as a friend to that company. And then, up surprise, my wife was there, sitting. So I went to the office, and then somebody said, "Yeah, you have to talk to a lady called Marcela." Actually, my wife's name is Marcela. And since I just sit in front of her, it was a big impact. I cannot say shock because I had many girls, and I always love all girls. Eventually, this is something that my wife, if she hears this, she's gonna be mad at me. But that was the truth. Macho men, loving girls, having fun, enjoying life. What else you should expect? That's all. It's all about life, right? It's all complete. Anyway, I thought that she was going to be another one, part of my selected list of beautiful women that I got in my life, but it was beyond of the limits. So when I start talking to her, there was it's difficult to explain, and also very embarrassing. And you guys are watching me and listening to me maybe in the way of being, I wanted to be positive, I wanted to be knowing, getting to know about tourism and so on. But I chose this chapter to talk about this kind of tourism thing. That also it's important, but especially you guys are watching to me on YouTube. You can see my face a little bit like embarrassed because I know that this could be a problem. Eventually, my wife listen this part, but it's life. This is how it goes. In the past, not now. So, and then I started dating her. One of the first times that we went out, was actually her birthday. She was dating somebody else, but that person didn't have chance. He was always busy and so on. And well, I went around the corner and I offered her to go around. So we went out, but just as a friend. Like, we were in a very nice restaurant. We ate, we had fun, and then after that, that was it. But then later on, it was more closer. As I was working with that company, I was in touch with her many times. She was the operation manager on that company, and actually by now, in our company, in our own company, she is the general operation manager, right? She hasn't changed her duties from the beginning. It was gonna be 18 years or something like that. So it was amazing that, in a certain point, I got to know her family, right? Her mother. Like, I'm actually sitting in the house that I just came 18 years ago. 19 years ago. Of course, I was not at this far because the place that we are producing this podcast was her room, actually. Obviously, at the first time, I was not able to come even farther than the living room, right? But now I have access to everything. That's why we set up this fantastic studio in her room. Being more practical. Just before to go ahead, I recommend you to subscribe. Don't forget that we are at podcasts in all the networking and also on YouTube. You can find us as Guy Ecuador. But remember, Guy with Ecuador with one E. All right? Don't do the two E's because that's another person, which is fake. It's not real. I'm the real one. I'm the original one. Right? And coming back, in a certain point was difficult because me as a tour guide didn't have enough time to be like a regular person. Let's say, dating someone, the other person kind of wait or hope that you have time for that person and not just even sending messages or calling, being physically there. And I was, because I was looking for, working with other companies. I was always in love to keep traveling and getting to know more people. But in a certain point, I decided to slow down my time and date her more, right? And out of these, let's say, encounters, magically, my beloved daughter appeared on the scenario. And I was in shock when one day she was kind of different and she didn't want to talk about anything. She didn't want to see me for a little bit. And then after that, she said naturally, hey, you know what? I'm pregnant. They said, what? What are you talking about? I don't believe this because, it's like your life, personally, my life was turning down from the bottom, like a big trunk. And then suddenly, there was no more trunk and all the way to the ground. I say to myself, me as a father, I kind of like it. And I say, the feeling of I was going to be a dad, I like it, but also I was terrified. Eventually, we kept this on secret for a little bit. And also, I don't know, the mother is like for instinct, kind of predict that something was wrong with me. I was living with my parents. And every time I went home, and she was like, you're different. What's going on with you? I can have this kind of sense that you are going to have something that you don't want to tell. And then eventually I talked to my parents and I said, you know what, you're going to be grandparents. My father didn't want to accept at the beginning. He was like, oh no, that's not possible. You're still very young. You shouldn't do this because you still have a lot of future. You have to keep going and you have to and you have to. And that's one of the first advices. Whatever is happening in life is for your, let's say, is the consequence of something that you did it and not necessarily were conscious. But at the end, the responsibility of having another teeny tiny person as part of your family, it's something that you shouldn't say in any case. In any case, I won't take a part of this because it's yours. Was going to be yours, so it's going to be yours. It's terrifying, yeah. I was cranky, I was mad, I thought my life was over. But that was like for like a shorter period, like very short. From the other hand, my wife, of course, talked to the family, and then they accept me as like already a new person from the family. I remember my father-in-law eventually. Well, unfortunately, my father-in-law passed away 2 years ago, and I remember both my mother and my father-in-law. From the beginning, they always say, you know what, you can count with us, and it's okay. As long you love my daughter, which is my wife, and being loyal of how it should be done. I know it's difficult. You both didn't expect this end up in this way or happen in this way, but you have to take the responsibility that this is yours. It's not like the microphone or the phone. They say, well, I don't want it, I will throw it away. It's another life, right? And I took it on that way, yeah. Between my family and her family, was a kind of rusty, like I like to say, this is a proper word for that. It was a little bit rusty. They went together alone, but they kept it in circles. So A and B. Until a certain moment that, of course, now the situation is different. And actually, recently my mother-in-law went to see my parents' house, and she was in love with that house, and they actually have a good relationship between, right? But at the beginning, for the fact of, I didn't accept it, they took this position that they didn't like too much, the idea of being absorbed by a new family, right? At the end, I didn't care. I have to handle that. So I lived with that. And of course, in a certain point or certain occasions, special occasions like Christmas, so always like the families got together, and my family was not part of that new family. But at the end, I took it, I swallowed it. I just swallowed it, right? And then, of course, we were in the controversy of should we marry or should we just keep it like single, but with the responsibility and that. Obviously, we both grew up Catholic, but I think the religion for me is something different. I'm not very precise. I like to say this. I don't want to say I am Catholic 100%. I have my own way of thinking and my own way of believing. But from my family house, or from her family side, they are very Catholic. And then my father-in-law said, I remember, no, you guys have to marry, and the new baby needs to have a family that are consolidated, and eventually the marriage is part of the situation. I say, well, yeah, this is kind of, everything goes together at the same time, and sometimes you don't have a chance to clarify if that's good for you or not at the beginning. So gladly, everything went down in a good way, so I'm still happily married with the same person that I love it. But in that moment, I was not sure, yeah. the wedding was under organizing, and we were just checking things and so on and that. And then suddenly, one day I went to her office and I said to her, I don't want to marry. My wife, of course, was destroyed, and she didn't want to talk to me, and she just left me. But I wanted to continue with her, but not specifically with the compromise of being married. However, we broke up, or even talking for, I think it was like a month, right? I didn't know anything about her. She didn't know anything about me. I was almost about dating another girl that was my prospect before I met my wife. And this is, as I told you, this chapter is pretty hot. Very, very difficult to tell you, because if my wife hears something like this, I know it's going to be a controversy, but I don't think it will go over that, because that happened a long time ago. And then it's the natural instinct to say, you shouldn't do this. So your conscience says, no, don't do this, because you already have a compromise. You're going to have a girl or a boy, whatever. You're going to have a baby. It's not whatever. I love my daughter. Sorry to say that, but keep going on that. So my conscience all the time was keeping to me, saying, don't do that. Don't just take the page over and do another chapter. Just stay on the same chapter. Keep going. And then suddenly, I went back to her, and I talked to her, and I said, sorry about it. I did that, not very conscious. It was just a motive in that moment. It was just a group of emotions that just make you act in a way that eventually you might not be able to regret, and also at the end you regret, of course, but in that moment you stay strong and say, no, this is the best for me. But at the end, later on, thinking about it and finding the way to distinguish things, gladly I went back to the origin. So then the party was organized, the wedding was organized, and it's hard for me to remember these kind of things, because I can believe that I was acting on that way. On my wedding, after the wedding, we were having fun and having a big party, and all my family was happy. I was drunk. I was having fun, but I didn't realize that party was in honor to me and my wife. So it was a wedding. I thought it was in a regular party that everyone was just drinking and that. And then the party organizer, that actually was my wife's uncle, in a certain point said, no, this is it. We are going to close the place. And yeah, sure, this is part of the contract, and we have to close the place. Obviously, everyone was just having fun, and I approached to him and I said, hey, is there any way that we can stay the party? We can maybe pay extra, and we wanted to keep it up with this. and he was like cranky, said, no, wait, no, we cannot do that in anything. Listen and watch what happened. I was so mad that I started fighting with him. My wedding was the beginning of a huge problem, right? That was a big fight, big fight in my wedding with my wife pregnant, right? So I was going to break the record of being married for like a couple of hours. But again, in that moment, yeah, somebody took me. I think my brother took me, put me on a car. Then my family, of course, the family was split. My family took me to one of my aunt's house, I think. I was completely drunk. My father just put me down and said, you have to sleep, and that's it. And then the next morning I woke up and I said, what happened? That's probably you guys that watch The Hangover, right? So when the guys were like sniffing and things, I didn't sniff, of course, but they were out of control, and they swim with the tigers, and they sleep naked and whatever. So I felt like that. I didn't know what was really happening in that moment. I didn't know where I was, right? Until later on, my mother came and said, no, it's fine, you can divorce. So they were actually assimilating that I was not going to be married. Obviously, my wife, obviously, she didn't want to answer the phone. So I came to this house with my, let's say, with my tail between the legs, like a doggy, asking to ask permission to talk to my wife. And I remember my mother-in-law came like a like a bodyguard. I rang the bell, and she came out and said, "What's going on? What do you want?" I said, "I want to talk to her." I said, "No, she doesn't want to talk to you. That will be impossible." Well, I want to talk to her. I want to change this because I was not conscious. And she started, yelling on me and say, "Yeah, sure, you are like that. You're gonna treat my beloved daughter on that way and so on. I don't want this person for you, for her." But I say, you saw the bad part of me. I believe and I swear you God that I am a really good person, but I'm also human. So what happened yesterday, but that's not gonna happen in the coming soon, maybe 50 years. At the end, my wife came down like a movie. No? It's just exactly like a movie. I mean, it's very embarrassing to tell you and to share this. It's difficult to hold the emotions as well. And it was like a movie. So she came down. I heard her slippers. So before that, don't forget to subscribe to us. You can find us easily on YouTube as 𝐏𝐻𝐃𝐂𝐀𝐒𝐓. You can also find us in all kind of networking and podcasts. We are as well as 𝐏𝐻𝐃𝐂𝐀𝐒𝐓. Remember, 𝐏 together with Ecuador, only one E. Coming back to the topic. You know what? I was gonna cry. That's why I made this break. But now I'm okay. So, so she said, "What do you want?" I said, "I want to talk to you. I wanna be with you." And she said, "No way. If you cannot respect my family and that, like a regular movie." I just wait until she threw up everything that she wanted to tell me, throw her anger. I was thinking, conscious about my daughter, until the moment I thought I was a boy. And then, you know what? We end up going to the beach, just to share the story. We end up going to the beach on that day. I said to her, "I'm gonna take you to the honeymoon because we don't want to skip this." So I took her to the honeymoon. We went to the beach. Yeah, we arrived. We were all good, and she was as well very confident, very comfortable, and fine. And she was very pregnant. She was 4 months. I think she was already 4 months pregnant. I knew it was already a daughter. Yeah, it was 4 months. And then I don't know what she ate on that day. And at night she was on pain. I thought she was gonna die. So I took the car. We paid in a very nice hotel and so on for 3 nights. And this night, the first night, we took the car and we drove all the way to the closest hospital. We end up there, and then she got the attention. The doctor said, she eventually ate something that was not good, it was not fresh, and now she's in pain, and it will be fine. But in her status, it's just better to go back to a big city because here is small, and if something happened, it will be a difficulty for us to take her back to the city. So I said, "Thank you for that." We spent a night and a friend she has a friend in that city called Esmeraldas. So after we went out of the hospital, we went to her home. We stayed there in a teeny tiny room, sweating because there was no air conditioning. It was like horrible, but we home. So next morning we went back, and then the question was, where should we go? Should we come back here to this house that everyone was hating me, or should we go to our apartment because we already rent an apartment? We had an apartment. I said to her, no way, you have to come with me. I'm not gonna be on the joke of, yeah, sure, we are together, but you're still with mommy and dad. No, you come with me today. You're gonna stay with me until God's allow us to be together. And then since then, it's been 18 years, right? And December 2nd, 18 years. She always uh, argue with me that I forget dates, but now I'm kind of, a lot of things come back to my mind. I remember December the 2nd is our anniversary, 18 years together. And then at the beginning, I didn't have like a good relation with my family, with my family-in-law. But I think in the past years, I have proved 1000% that I'm the right person for her. You know, of course, I have a good relation with everyone right now. It's been already maybe 7-8 years that I have a good relation. I proved to everyone that that thing that happened at the beginning was part of my emotions. You know, it's not easy to say, you know what, you're gonna be a dad. It's not easy to say, hey, you know what, you're gonna have a boy or a girl. It's not the same as say, hey, you know what, you're gonna have this pair of brand new shoes, and if you like it, fine. If not, just throw it away and do it another thing. No. So keep in mind that this is a life-changing thing. So shoes, no, but kids, family is a life-changing thing. Listen to me. Anyway, if you don't listen, it's fine, but this is my way of thinking. And in terms of business, I was always an entrepreneur, a crazy entrepreneur since the beginning. Actually, I have a podcast in Spanish. It's not telling my story, it's mostly, talking about how I start with my businesses, how I did the startups, the famous startups. So I'll later on, maybe I'll put it maybe on the comments, one of the links that you guys can maybe click on there and check. But if you want to practice your Spanish, because that's in Spanish. It's called the Stubborn School. Imagine that. You probably haven't heard that. However, also you can find us on the podcast as, it's in Spanish, Escuela de los Necios. Necios, stubborn, Escuela, school. Right? Coming back to this podcast, I'm getting tired and I don't know why. But I'm happy to share this. I'm so committed to do this. I won't stop doing this because I like it. And I like that you are actually subscribing, you're actually listening and watching as well. People who is watching on us on YouTube and actually thinking about in the coming soon months, open it to the lives. I want to talk to you directly. It will be nice to hear. It will be nice to see all comments, and that is coming soon. So my wife has been carrying all these kind of deceptions, ruins, problems with the fact of being an entrepreneur and trying to open a business. Between of that, I think the first 10 years of my daughter, I missed it for the fact of being a guide and being away all the time. It's something that I can regret because, on top of all the circumstances and money and whatever else you wanted to add it, I think time with kids, it's very important. I tried to be the best parent and the best dad, but eventually I didn't have time. It was like I have two choices, being with her or not being with her. So I chose a lot of chances, a lot of important events. I chose not to go with her. It's something that I regret. Well, eventually I have another, we decide to have another child, and then my beloved son came, and it was like a good match, let's say, because in that moment I was already managing the company, I was working less as a guy, and I had more time. And then COVID hit the world. It was terrible at the beginning, also for my relation with my wife, because I was more used to travel 3 weeks out of 1 month, and then suddenly stay 3 months out of 3 months. So I found a way, or we discovered that we didn't know each other as much as we thought, because we stayed stuck for 3 months and sharing with my kids as well. So that was kind of hard, but then also I was very pleased that I had time to spend with my son, right? So I think that with my son, I didn't miss much as my daughter. I love my daughter as well. She's turning 17 next year, and eventually 1, 2 more years, she will just fly out. Right? This is life. That's the chapter. This is life. And this is when I will remember that I waste too much time trying to find a business, trying to find who I am, or how far can I go. But I forgot this familiar part. So if you are listening this, if you're watching this, don't do this. Your children, your family is on top of everything, right? But also, of course, at the end, I end up with a business, with a travel company with presence of 6 countries of Latin America. So if you guys are interested to travel with us, down here you have the descriptions. Easily go online at www.𝐏𝐻𝐃𝐂𝐓.com, right? And I think you're getting tired of this. I'm not tired, I'm talking like a parrot. But before I finish today, I hope you have enjoyed this part. Just to share the story, as I told you before, I have 2 kids, Alejandra and Alejandro. Actually, I named both of my name, not because I'm a selfish. It's because I was hoping that maybe one of them will continue with the business. We continue with my name, Alejandro in tourism in Ecuador is important. I'm a brand. And I think it's not gonna happen because my daughter is more interested to veterinarian, marine biology, and so on. I think she's gonna go in that way, very far away from tourism. And my son wants to be police. I don't know. Well, when you're a kid, especially you're a boy, you want to be either a soccer player or like a police. I don't know. And this is why both are named on my name. And we live happily. I still love my wife. It's gonna be 18 years together. I remember as yesterday. All that I told you before, I think I keep it on my heart, on a good and on a bad way. That all the mistakes I did in the past helped me to be a better person, a better parent, a better spouse, right? Or a better husband. I'm gonna talk in the next chapter about how did I start with a business. I didn't want to tell you now because, as I told you on the previous chapter, I wanted to talk about my family and how I end up with her until now, which is for me is very valuable, very precious, and I'm still taking care of my family in the best way possible for me, and just making sure we're together. Even though my daughter will maybe travel abroad to study, but I wanted to keep this link together in terms of not forgetting that she belongs from this family, she belongs from this country, and that we love her. Well, this is life. I think we should say it's over. But before that, don't forget, keep saying, if you don't want to miss all of these kind of critical, sad, happy, emotional, energetic chapters that I'm going to share in the coming soon weeks, subscribe to us, Guide Ecuador, on all podcasts and also on YouTube. Remember, this is life and I'm Brian. So now we are over.